Contracts. 12 months left. Sam, you're based in Manchester. You probably would have seen a fair amount of Paul Pogba. What do you make of his performance there and what Paul Robbins has just said about in relation to his contract running out in a year, rumors that he might be moving to PSG, maybe even Real Madrid, a lot of money. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's certainly a hot take. To give Paul credit, I can see why, hypothetically, a footballer in that situation with a year left, like, we're talking about Lukaku before, maybe he thinks, I do want to prove a point. I want to prove a point to United. I want to prove a point to the fans. I want to prove a point to myself. I want to prove because, in terms of the fans as well, he's not always had it easy from United fans or anyone else. Pundits as well. And yeah, maybe he does, maybe there is an element of, okay, I'm going to show what I can do and get a transfer. But I think it's a strange time to make the point because Paul Pogba playing well on the opening weekend against a team that give you a lot of space and doing something incredible in a match is not unusual. Paul Pogba can do that. And in terms of, what I've made of him over the last 5 years at United, I think he has been disappointing because our expectations are so high. We've seen what he can do, particularly for France. And I think United fans have always been calling out for maybe a bit more defensive solidity behind him, whether a midfielder or the defence, to give him more of a platform. He's never really delivered on that, what was a record fee for the Premier League at the time. But he has had flashes, hasn't he? He has had times when he's scored a great goal or played a great game. And we know he's got that in him. And we've seen it for France in the summer, even though when they lost that game on penalties to Switzerland, he scored that fantastic goal. So it's no surprise that he would start the season in a game where you get loads of space, United are flying, back in front of fans, as you've already said, was a huge point this weekend. And I think it will be for the next few weeks. It's no surprise that Paul Pogba can play that well. So if I'm looking at reasons for why, I'm not thinking, it's his contract. I'm thinking, he's a great player. He's got loads of space. He's playing with forwards like Greenwood willing to make the runs. Bruno Fernandes was flying as well. I can't see the contract being the main motivation. Maybe it's there somewhere in the psyche, but Paul Pogba playing well as a one-off is not a surprise. If he does it all season, then maybe you say he's playing for a move because that would be unusual. But so far, is Pogba doing Pogba things that he's fully capable of?
Liam?
Well, the concept of a contract year is very well established in American sports. The idea that you're playing out of your skin for your next deal. We just don't see it very, very much in football because, particularly with top players, clubs don't let them get to the final year very often. But I think I'm inclined to agree with Sam. I don't think that's the primary driver here. I think Pogba probably knows that regardless of how this season goes, if he hits next summer as a free agent, he's going to get some very attractive offers from clubs that he wants to join, regardless of his performance, to be honest, because big clubs will always be prepared to take, it wouldn't even really be a punt on a player of his talent. I think a bigger factor in, when you look back at his performance level over the last few years is that a large chunk of that time was soured by the relationship with Mourinho and Mourinho's broader unravelling at Manchester United. He was, getting dropped for Scott McTominay, very much made the kind of poster boy for that whole conflict. And United at a club level have done a pretty bad job for most of his time of building the right kind of midfields and the right kind of teams around him. He's always had so much more of a solid infrastructure with France. Okay, N'Golo Kante is the ultimate luxury of a midfield partner in terms of covering up what you don't do well. It would have been unfair to expect United to do that, but they haven't done a great job until the last couple of years. And I think now they've got Bruno Fernandes. Now they've got players like, McTominay emerging, Fred, Matic, players who can do the dirty work in midfield behind Pogba. I think now you're beginning to see Pogba in his more optimised role. And he's got a lot of incredibly fast runners to find. I mean, Man United's attacking speed is incredible. And I think it's going to be dazzling all season. So the team is now set up for him to shine and play these incredible passes and notch a lot of assists. But he will still probably have games where he underwhelms because that's also what we know about Pogba. Consistency has been an issue. I think the contract, it's worth keeping an eye on, but I'm not sure it's the primary driver here.